Can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. My feet have come too far for you to tie them to the ground. Can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. Set my sights on where I'm going at. They turn it back around. Can't stop me.
Good evening and welcome to the Psychic Coffee Shop. I'm Aeson Knight, and with me tonight is Oscar with his new book, Awakening Your Shamanic Soul, part of the Common Sense series, which is awesome. In his new book, it's a personal quest for communication with nature and creation. And it's a really decent, nice book. It's a good weekend read. Hi, Oscar. How are we doing? We got the smoke going on there.
Sacred salutations, Aeson, and all your listening and viewing audience. May they be blessed by the beauty of our coming together for the first time on your wonderful podcast. I'm honored to be with you and share the wisdom of my ancestral peoples of Heart Island of Peru with those that are interested in shamanically transforming and healing their lives.
Yeah. So where in Peru is Heart Island?
Well, Heart Island is really the name given to the continent of South America. Seen from, let's say, the space station, it looks like an anatomical heart. Mm-hmm. As North America looks like a turtle, that's why it's called Turtle Island. And Central America looks like a serpent, and that's why it's called Serpent Island. So our indigenous peoples have those three names, turtle, serpent, and heart, that represent the topographical or the geological form that those continents have. And it so happens that the people of South America are all heart. We teach love by the way we live.
Mm-hmm. Do you know when they started using those terms?
I know for a fact, well, the English version of them is a recent development, of course.
Okay.
Yet, depending on which ethnic group, which tribal nation you're associated with, the name for turtle varies, and the name for heart varies, and the name for serpent varies. But Sonko Wata is in Quechua. Sonko, Heart, Wata Island. That's been used probably since around 1,500 BC. There's references to that in South America.
Interesting. So before, we were supposedly in space.
Well, look at the Nazca lines. Look at the geoglyphs that are ubiquitous around the world that can only be seen from the sky.
Right. Well, not only that, but look at the Mayan sculptures that clearly show spacecraft.
Exactly.
Yeah, clearly show spacecraft that they tried to hide for a number of years before we even, were released to the public. And then they released us, these are toys. My nephews don't leave toys laying around my house, and they definitely don't leave them at the graveyard.
Exactly. And not in burial mounds that of the most revered elders of their community either.
Right.
So they are medicine pieces. They are the embodiments of what we know as kamasqa, as creative power, and they connect us to our origins, really.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. So tell us about your new book. It's about 7 generations. It definitely has the medicine we need.
There it is.
Yes.
This is my 3rd book, and it's through the Common Sentience series that is part of the Sacred Stories Foundation that Ariel Patricia founded, that was established to make mainstream mysticism, to bring the mystic into the modern world, or better said, postmodern world, because of how important it is for humankind at this point where we are so enmeshed in algorithmic dataist reality to break through that physical enchantment with materialism and contact the spirit world.
Mhm.
And so therefore, the sacred stories purpose through that common sentience is about
Mhm.
is dedicated to opening the door to the
Right.
other side. It is helping people tell their stories of having encountered non-ordinary realities that have transformed them in a beneficent manner, that have enhanced their own sense of purpose, that have broken through the veil and allowed access to the Akashic Hall of Records. And in a nutshell, it's a very important contribution to the overall great turning that we're experiencing on planet right now, that is unfortunately more characterized by meltdown than breakthrough.
I think that's from the eye of the beholder.
I don't know what it's from. It just came through.
Right. Well, and the reason I say that is, for me, history runs on 111 to 115 year cycle, much like the calendar from the Mayans. And it's like, okay, let's see, 1920 is the outlawed alcohol. So in around 20 to 2034, we're going to be looking at banning some type of rights and privileges. Okay, so 1918, we had a plague. 1920, 20, we had a plague. There's too many communistics in this history tape. Can we just stop the tape, reprogram it, like take out all the pain and aggravation? But that comes with evolution. So how'd you get into this one?
How did I get into the book or into the path of shamanic beauty walking?
Well, let's start with the book and then lead for the beauty walking.
The book came about as a very serendipitous experience. I'm a member of the Evolutionary Leaders Circle that was started by Deepak Chopra about 10 years ago. And you're invited there to share your work as a catalyst of evolution, of human evolution through your teachings, as well as your service to a community of practitioners. And therefore, I have been walking this path, what's known as the kamasqa curandero path, since 1969, when I began my formal apprenticeship in the northern coastal regions of Peru with my beloved mentor, Don Celso Rojas Palomino from Salas, Chiclayo. I was 18 at the time, almost turned 18, and he welcomed me warmly into his community. And I spent from 69 to 82, at least 2 to 3 months every year, apprenticing the arts of Huachuma curanderismo, which is a practice in which the community is gathered together in a ritual context, and we do healings as well as pilgrimages to sacred sites of our ancestral people for the purpose of reconnecting with our origins as medicine people, as medicine walkers. Now, it's a long story to it. I don't know how much time we have, but
we have as long as we can get through. As long as I can stream for 24 hours if I choose to.
Wonderful. So, based on my own experience as a child, I was very sickly, and so my father worked for the National Institutes of Health in Peru. So he was stationed in very remote rural areas of Peru. I was born in Lima, the capital, but spent my formative years in the northern central highlands and the northern coast and in the central Amazonian rainforest region. So I was infused with the living soul of our indigenous people and their myths of origin, their creation stories, their very rich soul animated world that attributes consciousness to stones, to plants, to trees, to animals, to star relatives. Everything has a soul. Everything has a consciousness. Everything is sentient.
Mhm.
And I grew up having a lot of these real beings that other people could not see, but
Mhm.
I could see, not
Right.
only with my eyes, but with my heart. They were my friends.
Mhm.
Like every child has imaginary friends, and some of them even ascribe miraculous powers to their dolls and to their toys. In similar fashion, I was, gifted certain textiles,
Mhm.
certain what we call carved stones or conopas that became my repertoire. They became my ajuar, my dowry of medicine pieces over time.
Mhm.
Well, most of the kids had a soccer ball, a doll, toy soldiers, and I would show up with a feather, with a stone, with a rattle, and they couldn't figure me out. So I was like a stranger in a strange land, right?
Mhm.
Yet upon returning to Lima, it was difficult for me to integrate.
Right.
Plus, I had severe asthma that
Right.
forced me to go ahead and miss a lot of school and interiorized my experience very much.
Just got you cigarettes.
Yeah. So it's like the classical shamanic initiatory illness in which
Mhm.
you are dismembered. So I went through a process of great challenge until I finally, my asthma was lifted through quite miraculous means.
Mhm.
All of this, for people that are interested, my first book is called Lessons in Courage, Peruvian Shamanic Wisdom for the Modern World. And in that, you can read all about my story. It was co-written with the world's leading expert. She's a cultural anthropologist, Dr. Bonnie Glass Coffin from Utah State University.
Mhm.
She's an expert in female shamans of Peru, world expert. And she was an apprentice of mine, and now she's a colleague, of course. And she interviewed me, and out of that interview, that book arose. And in the book, you can read all about my story of this miraculous healing that occurred when I was 10 years old, in which three beings of light basically extracted the asthma from my lungs through suction. And from then on, I never had that condition again. So those types of experiences made me realize that what we are in touch with at the three-dimensional level of sensorial apperception, but a sliver of truth that remains available for rediscovery. And from then on, I dedicated my life to exploring non-ordinary states of consciousness, as well as ritual practices that deepen one's contact with the unseen dimensions of life. And all of that led to being a teacher of these shamanic arts and ultimately becoming an author, because I consider myself really a friendly holographic projection. I'm really not here, yet I'm only here because people may benefit from having this form by the name of Don Oscar. But ultimately, what you're seeing is yourself in a different disguise. Am I making any sense?
You're making total sense. I'm liking that. Just a little piece here. So I find it interesting. You got healed from asthma by some beings of light. I smoked because I had asthma terribly, and you know that moment when they have to put back in the day when they would put you in the oxygen tent. My doctor got tired of that coming in at 3 a.m. because they had to write a prescription for this and configure this big plastic thing. So he looked at me and I said, "When you get this boy out of here, you take him home and start him smoking."
Well, that's a twist.
Not really, because that's what the English were doing, or the common medical practices in the 20s.
You're not that old.
Oh, I'm not that old. My doctor was that old.
Yeah. Well, I came out of my mother's womb in a puff of smoke. My father was a clinical oncologist, a cancer researcher, and he chain smoked 5 packs a day. My mother chain smoked. My brothers chain smoked. So when I was born, I came out in a puff of smoke. And it was that smoke that really was impacting my lungs, plus the pollution in Lima, very humid, and not much air at all. I mean, wind. So in my case, I had to have IV dexamethasone, which are steroids, to open up my alveoli to breathe. I had to have those weekly. If I didn't have my IV of dexamethasone, I couldn't breathe. And it got to a point where my kidneys were getting totally shot, my adrenals. So they took me from Lima, which is on the sea level, to Chosica, which is 11,000 feet above sea level, and to just so I could, breathe and have a life. Or else they were concerned that I wouldn't make it another year. And that's when I had this encounter with these beings that pulled me back from the other side. And
you don't get that right.
Yeah.
Your homework ain't finished here. Back to the board.
Yeah. Well, it was really an extraordinary experience that afterward, and this is the incredible thing. So I was 10 years old. I was almost 18 when I met this mentor that I mentioned earlier, Don Celso Rojas Palomino. I had heard rumors that he was the best, renowned for his magical use of San Pedro cactus, which is a mescaline-based succulent. It's called Trichucerius pachanoi, and it's been used since 3000 BC in a sacrosanct shamanic context for healing a plethora of ailments, right? And he was a master at cooking. And it was the 60s, and I had been experimenting with cooking it on my own for recreational uses since I was 14. So I went there to learn his secret formula. And lo and behold, I showed up with three of my friends, and he looked at them and said, you get out of here, you stay. And he told me to stay. And that began my apprenticeship using this, doing a mesada, a ceremonial or ritualized healing action in service to one's community, imbibing this visionary plant medicine, right? The first time I sat in his mesada, in his ceremonial circle, all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, these three beings of light start to rise out of the center of the altar ground that he was using. And I had forgotten all about them. I had become amnesia. I didn't remember anything about my healing at 10 years old. I just went on my life as an ignorant teenager, getting into a lot of trouble, and but forgot all about it. And all of a sudden, he elbows me and he says, "Do you remember them?" So he was seeing them also.
Right.
That, just turned my life upside down. I realized, wow, what the hell's going on there? And so these three beings just levitated out of the altar ground and started to telepathically send me memories, images of what had happened when I was younger. And I recalled all the information that they had seeded in me. And at that point, I was hooked, of course, and just said, this is going to be my path. And it was a twisty, curvy path. I relapsed a couple of times and then got back on the road, on the red road, and ultimately got things clear and dedicated my life to teaching love by the way I live, and using the shamanic arts of my ancestral peoples to transform one's fear into love, one's separation into wholeness, and one's sense of personal narcissistic self-absorption into a surrendered state of service to
Right.
the welfare of humankind and our planetary biosphere.
Right, which is why a lot of times, we are here for that. We are here. That's what we come to this planet to do a lot. Have you looked at other shamanic practices and compared them in contrast, like Tibetan shamanic practices and Latin American shamanic practices, or even Irish shamanic practices, or Northern American practice? And are you able to do what and see like ribbons or threads of like, oh, you do this, this, and this. We do this, this, and this, but we also do this.
Certainly. And that's why I call in the book, Shamanism, Personal Quest of Communion with Nature and Creation, I coined the term universal shamanism. And it's about that. It's about the common elements that demonstrate that shamanism just didn't originate in the Tungusic Siberian area of Russia, as most cultural anthropologists claim it's the birthplace, that it happened simultaneously around the globe, that it is the result of the first human impulse to care for something or someone, much or more than oneself, gave rise to shamanism. Just a desire to step out of the way and offer yourself in healing service to somebody who's suffering or someone who is not feeling whole and not enough. And so basically, I find that throughout the world, and I've been to Tibet. I did a pilgrimage to Mount Kailash. 28 days we were pilgriming throughout Tibet. And the Bonpo or shamanic peoples of Tibet have very similar practices to the Andean highland peoples of my country. Very similar. It's almost like they came from the same star system almost. And then I found also in Africa and in Australia, and many of the pilgrimages I've done around the world to various tribal nations and sacred sites. I've been invited to various councils with elders to discuss how we can share our ways without having them be appropriated and misused, of course, which is very important. But there's these underlying threads that you say that are common original instructions. There are original instructions, as we call them.
I like original instructions. What I call them a lot of times is the pot roast recipe.
Say that again?
The pot roast recipe. I don't know if you've heard this.
Okay.
So this great-great-grandmother has a pot roast that everyone loves. Okay? And she makes it, her friends make it the same way. They all pass this recipe down generation after generation. So about the third or fourth generation, this daughter gets the recipe, and it has this weird thing about cutting off the end of the roast about 5 inches and taking that part out and frying it. And using it to make gravy. Well, the fifth generation girl finally gets to meet the original recipe originator. And they had made up this whole thing passing down through the story about why you'd done that. It made the meat fresher, made it more tenderer. This is the best way to get the best gravy, all this. So she asked the grandmother, why do we cut off almost a third of the roast here in this recipe? Grandmother looks at the recipe, and it had grown in items, and it had, other things had been took out of it, and, brown sauce was added, and she's like, what the hell's brown sauce, this type of thing. And she goes, oh, I remember why I done that now. The roast was too big for my pot, so I had to cut it off and save it.
Very practical. That is exactly what shamanism is about also.
Yeah.
It's functional and it's utilitarian. It has a very utilitarian purpose, as well as an evolutionary imperative. It helps people grow and individuate or become more than what their stinking drunken mind, drunken monkey mind tells them they are. It helps us break the mirror.
Mm-hmm. And also reflect on the mirror itself as to what we're doing, how we're doing it. Why do we do the things that are not, why do we resist doing the natural things?
Why we resist doing the natural things? Well, just like the grandmother realized that the roast was too big for her pot.
Uh-huh.
There's no resistance there. The natural thing was to make sure that that piece of roast fit the pot,
Right.
and therefore found even a better use for that end piece that increased its flavor, that enhanced its delectability, and made it another dish, which is the fried.
Right.
Which yeah, exactly. So go ahead.
But part of our modern existence here, we've gotten to where we resist natural behavior. We yell at children from going out and playing in the dirt and getting all muddy and making mud pies and, all that. It's like, oh, don't get dirty, don't get dirty. That's awful. No, that's them attuning to the earth. Send them outside. Get them all dirty. Get them as muddy as they can be. Hose them off with a garden hose.
That's the way I grew up.
Yeah.
And life has become too sanitized. I mean, we need good dirt. We need to eat earth for our biome, for our, bacterial friends that are most of our body. The more crap we can put into our system, the more our immune system will be able to resist a barrage of other unbeknownst to us, diseases.
Right.
In developing nations, we learn to pick up food that's fallen on the floor and eat it immediately. My wife has a cow when I do that, but it's just what I do,
Right. So the three light beings come to you. What next? What happens to you? What transformations do you see in your life? Where does that synchronicity kick in there? It's like, ooh, so this is how we maintain this. This is how we pass this on.
We're jumping all over the place, and and so for me, life is a rite of passage, an initiation, and I had various significant rites of passage. Some of them created by myself, some of them done to me. When I was 2 years old, I was electrocuted. I don't remember this, but my father said that I was blue, I died. That was a rite of passage. When I was 2.5, a vampire bat grabbed up. We were in the Amazon, living there. A vampire bat grabbed onto my hair in my crib, and I smashed it to smithereens against the rails of the crib. So when my parents came in the morning, they saw a bloodbath, but the two little feet of the vampire bat, were still attached to my head. So that was my shamanic power animal, my first shamanic animal ally. That was a rite of passage. Then, of course, returning to Lima and adapting there. And then my father got a research position at Sloan Kettering Memorial in and so we lived in Queens, New York. And I'm the result of my father's second marriage and my mother's third marriage. Yet my father did not know that my mother had a pair of twins and another daughter before that were living in the United States. So one day these three ragamuffin people who had just come out of an orphanage show up to our home in Queens. My father took them in. Beautiful man he was. Yet one of those twins, one of my brothers, sodomized me. And so that was a rite of passage for me. It was an initiation. And then after that, I returned to Peru, and that's where my asthma got very, very, very intense. And that whole period from around almost right when I began kids, around almost 6 years old to 10 years old, that I had my greatest struggles with the asthma, were periods of very great darkness. My family became very dysfunctional. There was a lot of drinking. There was a lot of fighting. My mother was a Napolitan, an Italian woman that was, very, only had fifth grade education. My father, very educated, come from two different worlds.
Mm-hmm.
But she didn't put up with any shit. So she almost killed him once. I remember walking into their bedroom and she had a belt around his neck and he was struggling. Then she threw an iron, clothes iron on his head and smashed his head. I was witnessing all these things growing up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting place to grow up. Yet there was always love in the house for some reason. I felt loved by both of my parents. They couldn't live together,
Mm-hmm.
but they loved each other. My mother had very severe emotional problems because of being abused as a child herself.
Mm-hmm.
So she was in and out of psychiatric treatment and received electroconvulsive therapy and many other things, which prompted me to study psychology in college, right? Because aside from shamanic work, I am a psychologist, and I'm trained in clinical psychology, and went to some pretty decent universities. Yet the situation is that throughout my life, these events that demanded a death, demanded a letting go of my craving for approval and control, a dissolving of my sense that I can really make a difference in the craziness that surrounded me, led to a place of complete surrender. And I have a saying that when we surrender the need to figure it all out and cultivate the ability to let it all in, then our earth walk becomes a sacred dance of healing in the world. And what the planet needs is more than saving, is healing. And that's where I found myself also. So I dedicated my life to studying various methodologies of healing, both psychological, psychospiritual, and holistic medical approaches.
Right.
And I integrated all of that into helping others make their rites of passage, be initiated into the shamanic life without having to go through so much dismemberment, pain, suffering, and loss of support systems.
Right. With that, what did your psychological self say to you when you saw the three beings?
Well, this is how it happened. My father was living in Lima. He would come on weekends. I was living by myself with my mother in this one room little unit in a hotel, pretty dilapidated. There was nothing to do. No TV. There was nothing except beautiful nature outside with the Rimac River, the speaking river that came down from the Andes, the central Andes. Big boulders, big stones, trees, birds. Those were my, just like you lived in West Virginia among the forest. That was my world, right? And so I would go out during the day, come home at night, have dinner and everything. But I would have these fits of hypoxia where I couldn't breathe, as you can relate to. One night, it was so bad that, I just knew I was going to cross over. So I just let myself, suffocate. And I started to just disappear. And I was going, just dissolving and disappearing. And all of a sudden I hear my nickname being called in the background. And my father had nicknamed me Beaver because I was always curious. So he called me Eager Beaver, and I heard my name, Beaver, Beaver, and all of a sudden I managed to bring myself back to consciousness, and I open my eyes. I'm in this dark room, and I see these three shimmering beings, one right in the middle of me and two flanking me on the bed.
Mm-hmm.
They looked like willows, like willow trees, but all of light.
Right.
And white robes, and long white hair, and it's like very ethereal. And so the one in the middle starts to communicate with me, and it wasn't sound, it was image.
Yeah.
And he said, "Sit up. We have some information to tell you. It is not your time yet." Now, this is what I remembered post experience once I started working with my shamanic teacher, right?
Right.
All of this started to come back. Now, so he proceeded to tell me the relationships I'd be in, the children I'd have, the education I'd get, the marriages I'd have, et cetera, details about my life that ultimately occurred
Mm-hmm.
in the future. And when he completed his download, then he ordered me to go ahead and close my eyes and lay down again and just open up and trust. And the being to my left just arched himself over and placed his lips over my chest and began this endless suction. It's a classic shamanic extraction when you suck out the illness of a person, right?
Right.
And it was interminable. And so he just continued to suck, and then went, and I saw all of the miasm, all of the hucha, the density, everything, all of the pain, everything that had been a struggle for me in life, that had been absorbed in my holding of my breath, sucked out and spiraled and disappeared into the heavens.
Mm-hmm.
I got up like that and took a breath, and it was done. I was healed. There was no more. At that point,
how did the medical person respond to that?
Well, that's the whole thing. We had the best doctors in Lima that were treating me, and they were very concerned. They thought I wasn't going to make it because of the severity of the asthma that I had. So, the next day I get up and I tell my mom, I have no more asthma. I can breathe perfect.
Mm-hmm.
She said, "Oh, come on, you're bullshitting,
Mm-hmm.
That's impossible." I said, "No, Mom, I swear, look, I can run now." And I started running up and down. And she realized that because I also had urticaria, I had hives with the asthma, which is common. No more hives, no more urticaria, no more breathing problems. And so she called my father. My father came up, did his examination, was blown away. I had no more wheezing in my chest.
Mm-hmm.
The condition in the alveoli had
Mm-hmm.
disappeared because it had become a little crusty. So we went back down to Lima to the respiratory specialist there that had been treating me with the dexamethasone, and they were blown away. There wasn't a sign. There wasn't any indication that I had ever had asthma in the first place in my respiratory system.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, it's one of those anomalies in medicine that are just put to the side, quietly shelved with the other interesting, episodes that science cannot explain. Yet ultimately, this type of healing happens daily to thousands, if not millions of people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not alone in this.
Right. And, so tell us about the experience your reader has with this book.
Well, this book is about it consists of three parts. The first part is a treatise on shamanism from a cross-cultural perspective, where I get into the whole phenomena of shamanism, what it is, its origins, the various practices, the tools and techniques, the shamanic calling, the initiatory crisis, the wake-up call, and then walking the shamanic path. And it draws not only from my own experience, but also from the many moons of research that I've done academically, and studied with some of the most renowned scholars of cultural anthropology, medical anthropology, and shamanic studies in the world, which I've been privileged to have as friends. Some of them, of course, now passed. Yet all that information is a shamanism primer. It's like a shamanism 101, but with a depth to it, so that you can get a good initiation into the phenomena, but at the same time, it allows a space for deepening one's understanding of shamanism being a universal phenomena that is imperative if we are to evolve beyond our three-dimensional fixation with materialism. So all that is in the first part of the book, with a lot of personal anecdotes and stories from my own teachers. Then the second part is a 25, including my own stories, written by other people that have, some of them my students and some of them that I don't know, but that have had shamanic encounters with non-ordinary realities that have transformed their lives in significant manner. And they are riveting stories. The first part has a section called shamanic storytelling, because in shamanism, storytelling, like drumming and rattling, is paramount, right? So we understand that it's through story that we can transmit the highest caliber of wisdom into people's lives. So the middle of the book is 26 stories written by individuals that are truly remarkable. So the reader is led into the world of these other people that other than himself. And the last part are tools, techniques, and practices, which are a distillation of many of the tools and techniques that I've learned over my years of practice, the Highland Shamanic Initiate, as well as a coastal shamanic initiate in Peru. And then it ends with my own personal reflections on becoming one in the garden again. How we can bring shamanism into the world in a manner that it doesn't become this esoteric, supernatural experience, but basically a very hands-on tool that allows it to be a sadhana, a practice, a spiritual practice, as well as a dharma, as well as a life path or vocation. So we've received extraordinary editorial endorsements from renowned teachers around the world. And just now, it just was launched October 25th. Just now, we're getting some very good reviews from readers on Amazon.com and other booksellers.
Right.
And
or they can go right to your site.
My dream is that it helps. It acts as a catalyst. It helps people wake up.
And it gets them moving. Now, are these tools complicated? Do you have to really delve into them, or are these simple things?
They're as simple as doing a shamanic earth walk and repeating some very 5 words that have a vibrational frequency to it, that allow your soul to reveal itself rather than just your mind. It helps you lose your mind and come to your senses, So shamanic earth walk, a Pachamama renewal process in which through breathing, through mudras, through hand postures, you are able to embody, internalize, and crystallize the 5 elements of earth, water, air, fire, and ether into your pokpo, into your luminous bubble of living energy, enhancing your overall well-being and health in a manner that does not necessitate outside intervention through drugs or pharmaceuticals. You know, it nourishes the holistic essence of our being. There's others that are just journey works, you know, guided imagistic sojourns of connection and contact with our animal allies, and how each animal ally that is associated with the 5 directions of the altar ground that we use in this particular path known as the Pachakuti Mesa become your dream companions. They show up in your dream time, in your visioning, in your reverie, and they impart certain keys to problem solving. Now, this is best, of course, done rather than listen to me explaining that. But ultimately, there's everything from a simple speaking the 12 principles of shamanism into your dream time before going to sleep, to condition you to have dreams that will be in alignment with the reality shared by most tribal shamanic peoples worldwide. And over time, of course, start to find its way as part of you or your own self, to using sacred items, sacred medicine pieces, such as feathers, rattles, pipes.
So no trip to the Amazon to hunt down, you know, the specific animal's skull or anything like that. Nothing scary.
Nothing scary unless you want to.
Okay.
For instance, in the south direction of this altar ground that you can use lies Amaru, the great boa and anaconda, the healer of the body. In the west is the dolphin and whale, the healer of emotional, the element water, the healer of emotional circumstances. In the north, the condor and eagle for spiritual conditions, for alignment. If one has lost their connection to spirit, you learn how to befriend the condor and the eagle through these practices and transcend into the spirit realm. In the east, the element fire, the realm of the otorongo, the jaguar, and the puma, the four-legged, the element fire, mind, for working on psychological issues. And in the center, it's like a spiral, like a nautilus spiral that you start in the south and go clockwise around and curve into the center, just like a Fibonacci numerical sequence. In the center is where you have the llama and the alpaca, the llama and the alpaca, supreme symbols of service. And it is the element ether, the soul. So you move from body to heart, to spirit, to mind, to soul. In the body, it's right action. In the heart, it's compassive feeling, love. In spirit, it's the spiritual awareness. In the mind, it's wisdom. And in the center, it's united as a soul. Right action born of compassionate spiritual wisdom unites. That is the journey around this altar ground that the initiate takes by following these practices. And it deepens one's relationship with something much greater than one's own individual self, which is what our planet needs the most at the point.
Yeah, it does. So what's this theory, and I say theory because it's just the best way to explain it, of the 3 worlds here?
Well, it could be a theory. It could be let me put it this way. Every every culture that I know of talks about this trinity, this triad of principles, of universal principles. That which is the below, that which is the middle, and that which is the above.
Mm-hmm.
So take the Hermetic axiom, as above, so below, spoken by the thrice great Hermes Trismegistus, known as THOTH, THOTH, which is the name of our organization, the heart of the healer, THOTH, T-O-H. Okay, as above, so below. What does that mean? It means that this world really is a mirror of a celestial realm that preceded the materialization of this planet. And that when we reach a point of understanding through our shamanic practice that we are the fashioners, that we are hierophants, that we are able to draw in spiritual power from the above and infuse it through our thoughts, words, and actions in the below, we are able to change our life circumstances in a manner that's supportive of a more global spiritualization of humankind. So, in a sense, we are people living in the middle world, in this Kaipacha, the world of conscious waking awareness, yet we are only we are psychoponts. We are basically journeyers through the worlds at all times, because when we go to sleep, we're not in this world. We can go into the interior Uhupacha, or the realm of shadow, the realm of darkness, the realm of the unconscious. We can access that of the supraconscious, or the transpersonal dimension, or we can remain, if we are adept at lucid dreaming, we can remain in this middle conscious realm. But they're really all united together. So I'm a little hesitant to say that there are three worlds. I would prefer to say that there is one seamless, undifferentiated aesthetic continuum that constantly is working through us, that is allowing us to access our inner self, our cognitive waking self, and our transcendental self. I don't know if that makes
perfect sense. That's why I always say theory whenever I'm talking concepts, because you have to experience that, and you have to break into that idealism of the three realms, or of the three states of being that we see in, like, Tibetan. We also see three in the Celtic beliefs, land, sea, and sky realms. So that totally ties in, and it's one of those little threads that go through.
It's those threads, exactly. And I think Freud, with his ego, id, and superego, as well as with the conscious, unconscious, and preconscious mind, and all of the other psychological theorists that have borrowed these shamanic understandings that have been spoken about since time immemorial. In Hinduism, just the trinity of the gods, and even in monotheistic religions, the Son, the Father, and the Holy Spirit, it's embedded in our psyche. We're hardwired to understand that there are three parts of ourselves that require integration, really.
Very much so. Okay. So what else are you doing? We've got the book out finally. It was delayed a little bit. That's okay. It came out on time. We can get it now. What's next?
Well, yes, you can get it on Amazon.com and other of your favorite booksellers. You can also find apprenticeship programs through The Heart of the Healer, theheartofthehealer.org. Go to that and you'll find an abundance of spiritual teachings and opportunities to do either virtual online classes or in-person apprenticeship series with teachers that I've sanctioned personally. We have 24 beautiful souls that have been trained in a foundational, an intermediate, and an advanced shamanic initiatory apprenticeship.
Mm-hmm.
And we offer those programs to people who are interested in learning these arts. And what I'm doing at present is also participating in the Evolutionary Leaders Circle that is dedicated to creating virtual gatherings now because of the pandemic rather than the in-person gatherings,
Mm-hmm.
that invite speakers of great renown to impart their wisdom to those interested. Other than that, I'm passionate about helping restore the viability of primary rainforests in Peru through an organization known as Camino Verde, CAMINOVERDE.org, means green path, which is reforesting areas of the Amazon that has been decimated by illegal gold mining and lumber extraction. And we're engaging the local indigenous communities there to earn their right livelihood through planting trees and creating extractions and oils from the trees and sell them and earn right livelihood that way, rather than killing themselves by inhaling the fumes of the sulfuric acid and mercury that is used in this illegal gold extraction. It's having a devastating impact not only on the ecology, but on the social fabric of our native peoples in the Amazon. So
Right. Plus,
I'm involved in that also. I'm sorry?
We're losing so much medicine there, so much medicinal our Westerners haven't even figured out yet.
Correct. It's insane. And at the same time, it's our greatest opportunity to wake up and be part of a resurgent citizens movement that is aligned in purpose.
Right.
So one step at a time.
One step at a time.
Remember,
so do we have another book coming out? Are you going something a little deeper with this? Are we going on some rebuilding? Are you doing some more trips to Peru, some guided trips?
Well, I have not been doing those for maybe 5. The last ethno-spiritual pilgrimage I led to the Amazon and the highlands was 5 years ago. I used to do several a year, not only to Peru, but to other sacred sites of the world. Right now, I'm in a phase in which I'm going to be showing up for a handful of in-person, what we call shamanic shindigs, to serve the students that have already been initiated into what is called the Pachakuti Mesa Tradition of cross-cultural shamanism that I originated. The next one coming up is going to be in January, end of January, at this incredible center in Sedona called the Mago Center. And it's amazing. So we just had one up at the Menla Buddhist retreat in the Catskill Mountains up in New York just last month, which was phenomenal. So I'm going to be, together with my wife, we're facilitating these events, and where we learn a lot of earth honoring ceremonial arts that are intended to go ahead and reactivate the dormant ley line matrix of our planet and connect the various sacred sites and wake up the ancestral spirits that are inhabiting those sites that have decided to, take a break because of the ignorance of humankind. So we're calling them back into communion with our two-leggeds. The other thing I've been involved with for many moons is a UFO contactee, a star relative contactee group in Peru called the Rama Mission, RAMA, and which is the only group I know that has scheduled contact experiences that involve a series of practices. We receive psychographic communication as to the people and the places where we are to go, and have these experiences of even materialized space brethren coming down from craft in this desert area called Chilca in Peru. And the reason for that is just to
Is that where the doorway is, or am I wrong?
I'm sorry?
Is that where the doorway is, or am I wrong on my geography?
No, the doorway you're talking about is the Amaru-Muru. That's in the Lake Titicaca area, that lake that we spoke about at the beginning.
Earlier. Yes.
Yeah, that's the port. That's the interdimensional bridge. That's the transdimensional. I have seen people walk in there and disappear, and they come back out.
Huh.
We call those Zendras.
Right.
Xendra. They are like these very thin bioetheric portals. They're like semicircles that show up,
right?
That are like light, and like imagine a bunch of orbs coming together and forming a doorway.
Right. Yeah, I'm familiar with the theory. I have a theory myself that there's actually 5 of them on the planet. We only have the one that we've discovered.
The Amaru-Muru has been there for a long, long time. I'm no expert in this, but I do know that they're like fairy rings, you know, in the ancient Celtic, and that there may be, depending on the person or persons, that can create a synergy, a resonant field of consciousness. They can be opened up pretty much anywhere if the intention is pure and the motive important.
Right. Do you have a theory that there is some DNA linkage with shamanic practices?
DNA leakage,
meaning that shamanistic abilities are actually connected to a DNA line, because we see that in many traditions, that it goes from father to daughter, daughter to son, father to daughter.
In my experience, they skip a generation.
Oh, okay.
The grandfather and grandchild. Yet yes, there's definitely a passing forward, passing down of the art among especially native or tribal communities. When it comes to the modern Western acculturated shamanic practitioner, it's different, because I found it's different because usually the person that's attracted to the shamanic path in the modern Western world did not have an elder or a grandfather or an uncle like you did with your Aunt Mary, right? That taught you those things. So they didn't inherit it that way. So there's a breakage in that genealogical pattern, right?
Right. But the latent DNA activeness there would still be there.
Always, exactly. Always. Yeah.
So, no, I just wondered if your tradition also had that viewpoint.
Personally, my good brother, I kind of try to stay away from being too reductionistic and attributing genetic or biological correlates to something that is all consciousness, that's about consciousness. So yeah, I mean, if we need to prove that shamanism is an evolutionary foundational evolutionary aspect of humans, and that we have a shamanic gene, and that's going to help people, welcome this way in their lives more. I'm for it.
Right.
Yet I'm not going to say. I prefer to say this.
Okay.
Chaskamanta ay pamangkutimundi. From star to earth I fall and return. Amarupi yakumamapi saruni. In boa and anaconda I tread. Chayawakunapi wapuni. In whale and dolphin I swim. Ankapi kunturpi fawani. In eagle and condor I fly. Pomapi otorongopi kawanki. In puma and jaguar I vision. Yamapi, pacopi, pacarini. In llama and alpaca I birth. Pachamamapi, hampini. In Mother Earth I heal. Nunapi, kausani. In soul I live. Hinaya, so mote it be.
So mote it be.
That's the extent of how I would situate shamanism as a universal phenomena in the heart of humankind.
Very much so. All right, darling. So your book is out, and everyone can learn a lot more at heartofthehealer.org.
Heartofthehealer.org. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, darling, my cup's empty. I'm going to get a refill during the break. Thank you for joining us, and we will speak to you again when your next one comes out, darling.
Mwah! Much love, intense hugs, and bliss out, my friend.
Bliss out, darling. Have a great day.
Ciao.
Hi, I'm Dottie the Psychic, and I'm sure you're wondering why I'm not wearing any makeup. Well, one reason is to irritate my social media manager, Aeson Knight. Hi, Aeson. The other reason is because I like to get to the naked truth about what it means to be a neurodivergent LGBT person with psychic abilities. I've got vlogs, blogs, and podcasts and videos all related to trying to live my best life and helping witches and bitches do the same thing. So, you can check all that out and get a reading from Dottie the Psychic at DOTTIEthepsychic.com. Safe travel and much profit to you.
Do you have a cute pet? We know you do. Each week, Tracy Vann chooses from submitted photos a featured reader for her Facebook page and provides a tarot reading. Your adorable pet cat, dog, rabbit, goat, chicken, snake, or more could be her next featured reader. Visit tracyvann.com, TRACYBANN.com, and click Featured Reader to submit. We look forward to seeing your pet next.
Hey everybody, Lady Gwendolyn here, and I am here to tell you how to get in contact with me and a little bit about what I do. I am the High Priestess that works with shadow work to help you grow and heal. And I work with access bars, Reiki, I do power forms. I'm recently getting into crystal healing, sound therapy as well. So you can go to Lady Gwendolyn Healing, that is LadyGwendolynHealing.com. Book your appointment with me. I do in person, I do over the phone, I do over Zoom. We can do that as well. My main goal is to help you grow and heal, because I've been there, I'm still going through it, and I let my strength help guide you. See you soon.
Hey everybody, Natalie here from The Pendulum's Path. If you are in need of guidance, direction, spiritual connection, healing, or more, you would come to the right place. I have worked as a psychic and a medium for over 3 years, connecting people from all over the world with their loved ones, giving them insight and guidance into their current situations, their past healings, their blockages, and what they need to know in order for them to have a better future. It would be my absolute honor if you would come to my website at www.thependulumspath.com. Visit my shop. I have a whole bunch of crystals, oils, balms, mystery boxes, and more. And visit my services. I offer 15-minute, 30-minute, and 60-minute sessions. I also have email readings available if you're not comfortable with the one-on-one session with me, or if you just want to try me out. I encourage you to come visit me at the Pendulum's Path, and let's get you back on the right track today.
Welcome back, Goblins! My name is Jason, and I am the host of the Esoteric Book Club, a podcast that examines titles on the magical, paranormal, the mysterious, and the strange. I release 2 episodes a month, in which I review books on esoteric topics, recap news of the weird, and conduct interviews with authors, practitioners, and experiencers. The Esoteric Book Club can be found on every major podcast service, or can be streamed directly from esotericbookclub.org.
Hi, I'm Tracy Van. I provide a blended reading consisting of mediumship, psychic, and tarot cards. A reading from me can cover any guidance you need from relationships with your partner or your family, spiritual, financial, any questions you may need clarity on. If you would like to book an appointment with me, check out my website, tracyvann.com. That's TRACYVANN.com. I have bookings from 15 to 60 minutes you may choose from. That helps if you just have a quick question, need an answer, or if you're looking for a reading in more depth, I'm here to provide the guidance and clarity for you. Let's just figure it out. Bye.
Hi, Techie Joe here. I work with Aeson Knight and some of the best psychics in West Virginia to create amazing live streams and podcasts for the Psychic Coffee Shop Network. Together, we brew up great content discussing news, events, hot topics, and more, all from a psychic perspective. On the Psychic Coffee Shop, we interview amazing authors in the metaphysical realm. Coffee and Tea combines Aeson with Tracy, Dottie, Natalie, or Lady Gwendolyn for the good and the bad of being a psychic. Shameless Self-Promotion with Dottie the Psychic talks to leading and emerging YouTubers and business owners in our community. Mountain Bears brings you the latest in LGBT news and politics. The Psychic That Plans answers the question of, well, how a psychic plans. Plus, we're live on air. We take your comments and your questions, including psychic advice questions. Check out our amazing programming, book an appointment with top psychics, and find out all the wonderful things we have to offer at PCSBnetwork.com today.
Hi, I'm Aeson Knight. I provide tarot readings covering everything from love and relationships to your life questions and your most spiritual answers. And also, I provide a lot of guidance in finances and divorces and all those relationship problems. So, if you'd like to get a reading from me privately, not on air, you can feel free to do so by visiting aesonknight.com and booking your appointment. I also provide on-demand services, so if your life is a little chaotic, you can go ahead and click that call now button there on my site. Great for a quick answer question. All right, guys, back to the show. Enjoy. Well, welcome back. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Dealing with multiple issues at one time and looking amazing while doing it, honey.
You know, we try.
We had a fun day today together, didn't we?
Yeah, we went out. We got some voting done. We did a little very light grocery shopping.
Yeah.
And yeah, I got my finally got past the library to get a library card.
Mm-hmm.
The strangest things you forget to do when you move.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But do you want to take a moment and just say hi to everyone? Hi, got a Holly, Shannon, Patricia. Hi, 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 hi. All right.
Alrighty. Now we do not normally by the time we've went on in past, we've had results in. We don't have results for the election. We'll talk about the results we do have in coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have inbound results. Like it's going slow.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're having trouble counting or if everyone just like took a smoke break afterwards or like
Well,
what.
it's been a long, long day.
It has. It has. I know when we went out to vote, which was still kind of pretty early in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were struggling to get a chance to
Yeah.
go to the bathroom.
They were stopping voting to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it looks like some counties just had their stuff done and in, and then other counties like ours, I don't think have really gotten there.
Well, yeah, things aren't final yet. Far
Oh
from
no, Lord no, far from it.
it. We up until
Yeah, so right now, as for the West Virginia State website, they're showing 12 out of 55 counties reporting with 337 precincts out of 1,690 reporting.
right.
Right now we're showing 195,564 ballots cast out of 1,153,112 registered voters.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
But so far, based on that 195,000 votes, and counting, we're seeing Carol Miller, for the U.S. House of Representatives, 1st Congressional District, currently kicking Lacey Watson's ass.
Come on.
67% to 28%.
I know. I just don't like her.
I know. Right now, it's not much better in the 2nd Congressional District. Alex Mooney is currently kicking Barry Lee Wendell's ass.
Right.
Again, almost 2-1. Yeah, but you will be happy to know all 4 amendments are currently trending, at least, as against.
Good.
So the clarification of the judiciary's role in impeachment, that's about 56% against. Property tax modernization amendment is 63% against. Incorporation of churches is at 53%. And education accountability amendment is at 57% against. So, yeah, we've had worse, I think.
We've had worse. We're still looking at there and seeing where it's at. This is still just 2 hours in since the polls closed. And you said what? Only 12% was reporting in.
Well, not even. Yeah, it's 12 out of 55 counties, so it's probably about 24% reported.
Right.
Yeah, somewhere in there. So
Right.
yeah, 12 out of 55. No, it's not even 24%. It's more like 23%.
Right.
Somewhere in the 20s. Sorry, you add that extra 5 counties, and my brain has trouble doing the math. But yeah, no, it's not a big report yet.
Right.
So some of this is going to be subject to change depending upon what counties are reporting. We may see some massive changes.
Yes.
Others, if because it looked like perhaps Mercer County might already be fully reported. but I'm stabbing in the dark on that one because I've been watching my Facebook, and someone from Mercer County, who is an elected official, has been posting. So I don't know if those are final votes or if that was just the current report.
Right.
Waiting for the next refresh.
Right. My big thing is, I don't know. I'm kind of like, many loses. I'm going to have to follow another Twitter account.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so I finally found it. So Mercer County is fully reported. Oh, heaven help us. Pocahontas County is fully reported. Jackson, Wirt, Pleasance, Monongalia, Preston, Taylor, Tucker, and Jefferson counties are all fully reported. Partially reported counties are Berkeley, Ritchie, Wood, Putnam, Cabell, Boone, Fayette, Nicholas counties. They are partially reported. Everyone else is either not reported yet or they're not even enough to count as partial.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a slow election night. No one's rushing this one.
Right. Well, I don't want them to rush. But,
no.
I'm hoping
Well, completely reported is not the same as declared. Please remember that.
Yes.
But yeah, so right now, though, we are looking at a few counties that are fully reported, a few more counties that are partially reporting, and most counties have taken a smoke break and gotten dinner.
Because it was a very long day. We do want to thank all of our polling workers. It was a different process for me this year because West Virginia went through redistricting.
Yes.
For the past 20 years, we lost a seat. So we had to go through redistricting, which means new, what are they? Districts, new polling places, all that fun stuff. I'm used to planning voting. I put 2 hours on my schedule to go vote. I want to be aligned.
Well, I'm just sitting here going midterms, usually not even a line to think of.
Honey, I think if Precinct 1 had to vote on the dog catcher, that's the only thing on the ballot, there was going to be a line.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah. Well, now I see Mercer County, and I say this, and I'm from there. I've always joked about it, though, is I never had any problems with my polling place because a lot of the people registered to vote that were attached to that polling location were in nursing homes.
Okay.
So that we never had a line at that polling location. It was the because we had a sizable population attached to it. But most of them were in nursing homes. So you never have a line at the Princeton Presbyterian Church if you go to vote, because most of them seem to be because it's a very old voter roll. Like the ages on that roll are very old. A lot of them are in nursing homes. So any which way you want to slice it, either literally they're residents of nursing homes because there's a nursing home in that area, or they are homeowners in that area and they're in nursing homes. So it looks like a much bigger area than it is.
Yeah, so be looking forward to, if Aeson gets to harass a new senator. Sorry, that's what I do with my Twitter. If Buddy Biggitburger will be out of office, I don't know who I'm going to harass this year. If he's not, then I continue harassing his Biggitburger behavior, and, see if we can't get Carol Moore to get off her land and go get a new hairstyle, because dear God's the bleach.
Carol Miller. Oh, poor Carol Miller. I say that like I actually feel bad for her, but I don't.
No.
So anyway, moving right along.
Moving right along. Are you the asshole?
Am I the asshole? I don't know. I don't know if I'm the asshole. Let me find out. I gotta scroll back up. Am I the asshole for telling my mom that her son isn't my brother? Am I, 22 male, have never had a great relationship with my half brother, 29 male, mom's first child, because he hates me? I am the result of my parents' infidelity and unfaithfulness to their first spouses. Both my parents were married and had kids. Mom had 29 male, dad had 33 female, and 32 male ages today. I'm not an affair child, though, since my parents divorced their spouses first and then had me 2 years later. While I have a great relationship with my father's kids, it wasn't the same when it came to mom's child. I guess he was having a hard time because of the divorce, and he saw me as the result of it. I'm thinking he means cause of it. I became his anger target. He treated me so poorly, called me names, etc. My mom scolded him, and my dad hated the way he treated me, but he never stopped. He was with us on weekends, but when he turned 16, my mom and his dad decided to not make him come to our house anymore. So my mom went out on weekends to spend time with him. I haven't seen him a lot since then, just like 2 or 3 times, and the last time was for my grandma's funeral last December. He and my mom have a great relationship, though, which I'm happy for them, but I no longer consider him my brother because of how awful he treated me. He asked me to meet a couple of months ago at his daughter's birthday, but I didn't go. My mom says that he wanted to publicly apologize. I'm graduating college this December, and I've decided to invite just my siblings. I don't consider 29 male a sibling. When my mom heard what I was planning, she asked me why I was playing favorites by excluding him. I told her that I don't consider him family because of how he treated me. She says that she understands how I feel, but it happened when he was a child and having a hard time. He has changed and wanted to apologize to me. I told her I didn't care. For me, he is just my mom's child, but not a brother to me. And I stated, I only have 2 siblings. She proceeded to cry. It happened 4 days ago. She has barely talked to me since. My dad said I was a bit rude about this. Am I the asshole?
That's a hard one you chose for me.
I know, right?
And I have to clarify. My father has 2 daughters and 1 son. My mother has a daughter and a son. I have no siblings.
Yes. Ain't that some things? Yes.
So, looking at the clarification and also walking in the shoes, no, you're not an asshole. I also feel that you have the right to fire family at any leisure time the same way you can hire family at any leisure time. What's your viewpoint? Because you've got the more nuclear, normal family.
Well, but see, I kind of don't. Like, we've joked in our family for years, mom and dad had 3 families between them.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had the first 2 kids, waited many years, had the second 2 kids, and then were not planning me at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it like the age stepping is kind of like having 3 sets of kids.
Right.
It's like set 1, set 2, and then, oh God, oops, set 3.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm just going, like, I feel like I needed more detail on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get that, like, okay, so the age difference, 22 male, 29 male.
Mm-hmm.
So they're 7 years apart. When he was 16, okay, so OP was 9
Mm-hmm.
when they last spent time in the same house.
Right.
And like, I'm sorry, all 16-year-olds are dicks.
Mm-hmm.
I really think the mom has a bit of a point.
Right.
That like there's been a lot of time for this one.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know it doesn't sound like a lot, like there are only 7 years difference in age, but when you're talking about like 13 years now.
Right.
Yeah, 13 years. That's a lot of time has passed.
Right.
And you're talking about a 16-year-old's treatment of a 9-year-old that was the product of an affair turned marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Effectively, the affair ending both marriages that preceded them.
Right.
I can kind of see like that kid having issues.
Right.
Like, because you back up 9 more years, you get when he had to first come to terms with this. And so he was like, what?
8.
6? 7?
Yeah.
7. Let's go with 7. I like 7.
Okay.
So he was 7.
Right.
Dealing with his parents divorcing because his mom had an affair
Mm-hmm.
with the guy that became his stepdad, and then they, waited 2 years and had a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a guess. Like, they didn't get any of the kids' therapy for this. Like,
Right.
and just kind of fought it out.
Well, and see, here's my other thing with this.
Mm-hmm.
They've had, we want to go 9 years to fix this problem.
Yeah.
Just now that OP is graduating is where they have decided to fix it.
Well, it seems like it was like in progress before that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just kind of, but then again, wanted to apologize at a public event for his child.
Yeah.
Like, really, come to my daughter's birthday party, come to your niece's birthday party.
Mm-hmm.
And then, no.
Yeah. No. There's been 9 Christmases, 9 Thanksgivings. There's been 9 cookouts. There's been 9 Zoom chats. There's been 9 phone calls. There's been 9 other events.
Yeah, and I'm kind of one of those people, like, call it bitchy or petty or whatever, but it's like, if you have to apologize to me, I think you should come to me.
Right.
Or we meet in an entirely neutral place.
Right.
Like, I'm not coming to your work. I'm not coming to your house. I'm not coming to your anything.
Right.
Like, I'll meet you at an Applebee's.
Right.
And we can, if I think it's worth it. And I get OP doesn't think it's worth it. I also realize OP is like 22. And granted, you have very good reasons, it sounds like, to be angry.
Right.
Treated me poorly, called me names,
right.
Target of his anger.
Right.
Yeah. And then your parents really didn't do much on that one.
Right.
I understand why you're mad, but I think you're almost doing the reverse.
Right.
Of what he did to you to him.
Right.
So I'm kind of having this moment. Like, I more so understand why, like, you personally,
right,
have issues. Like, well, you have issues with one sibling, and the other one, it's kind of like, well,
he has had literally,
he's had
2,340 occasions to apologize.
Yeah, it's been a long time that he could have fixed this before now.
Right.
No, I'm there with that. I think Mom just finally got how bad it was.
Mm-hmm.
Like, somehow she's not managed to understand, like, how ugly the situation was till, like, right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand she's having some issues. Like, I don't know, this family sounds like they need some therapy.
Well, they need some therapy. They need some redistributions of behaviors. They need a lot.
Yeah. And I don't mean like they need to go hug it out and like go on Dr. Phil or like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like that.
Right.
But it sounds like this is going to be intractable for a while.
Yes.
Right.
And back to polling, Brenda says that Marion was steady and busier than it had been. By the way, the poll is up. You can vote on my YouTube channel. You guys get to rule if they are an asshole or not now, since we have the ability to do polling.
We have 7 more counties reporting too.
Awesome. So, in Aeson's opinion, they're not the asshole. The brother is the asshole. The brother had more than enough opportunity to apologize. The brother also had more than enough opportunity to change his behavior. Because, I'm sorry, I was a dick, is not changing of behavior.
No. Well, and it's possible the 19-year-old dick is now like a 29-year-old having some serious, like, oh, shit moment.
Yep.
I think that's kind of a fair one. But I would also point out, I think the parents are assholes too. Like, y'all let this go this far out of control.
Right.
Like, I think at the point in which you have one kid out of your herd, it's like, I only have 2 siblings.
Right.
And there are, 4 kids here.
Right.
Yeah. You got some serious problems there that you have not addressed for a very, very long time. Like, you didn't fix this when it all started, when her kid was 7.
Right.
You didn't fix this when he was when the kid y'all had together was 9 and the kid she had was 16.
Right.
And then you haven't fixed this, and now like 22 and 29, yeah, like I don't think they're gonna, hug it out.
Exactly.
Ever.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
Sorry, that sucks for you.
All right, let's see if the poll got anything. And the poll says, nope, you are not the asshole in this situation.
Awesome.
All right, so let's move on to relationship advice. I went hunting somewhere else and found some much new, fresher territory.
Oh, so I, 24 female, saw my neighbor, 40s male, cheat on his sick wife, 40s female. Hi, I'm in a moral conundrum. I know my neighbors by passing, no major relationship nor friendship. I know from seeing them that his wife is sick since many years now. I've seen her dad, and it's probably the only person in that house with whom I've exchanged any words with. On to the issue. Due to the electricity going off and on, I had to get up late at night and turn off the alarm at my house. Realized there was music blasting. I saw out my window and saw my neighbor with another woman on their porch. I thought nothing of it, but then saw them kissing, and I felt awful for his wife. One could hear them on the block with no issue. And just saw him arrive back at the house after she was out with her dad. He arrived with a huge flower bouquet. I've told my friends and significant other varying opinions, do not get involved and say it, and I'm really conflicted. I know stress can affect the brain, and she had something of the sort. So I'd be super scared to open my mouth and do damage that would detriment her life physically. Please advise, am I wrong to prefer to not intervene or have any conversations with any of them in the future? Too long didn't read. Neighbor cheated on his wife. I saw everything, and it could be heard in all the block. Am I wrong to not do or say anything since his wife is sick, and I'm scared it would hurt her health?
What? You're not seeing the poll? I'm seeing poll results. What the hell?
No poll. Wrong YouTube channel.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Joe, why don't you give your opinion before I give mine?
I'm gonna stick with Betty White on cheating.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna stick with Betty White. Don't tell.
Yeah.
Stay out of it. No one will ever appreciate you being the one to tell them. Now,
Yeah.
granted, you're in a position where it doesn't fucking matter.
Right.
On one hand, as in you could tell her,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really not gonna matter because you're not her best friend. You're not someone she hangs out with socially. You're just the effing neighbor down the street, as far as she's concerned.
Mm-hmm.
On the flip side, you don't really know the situation at all. You're judging it by your own standards for your relationship. You don't know if they have any agreements. You don't know what their deal is. You don't know who they are or what's going on. You have judged all of this about people you outright say you know nothing about,
Mm-hmm.
that you barely exchanged words with. And you're judging it on your own sense of right and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of got to go for, like, even if that, I don't think you go there. I think you leave it alone.
Well, first of all, I think she needs to be charged for being a peeping Tom.
Well, getting up in the middle of the night because you had to reset your house alarm and you happen to look out your window, not a peeping Tom makes.
Well, it does if you're sitting there staring to see that they kiss.
Well, I mean, again, like it's not like it's not like she's sitting there with binoculars waiting for something to happen.
Well, possibly. But at the same time, my opinion, none of your business.
No.
Did it happen on your property line? No. Are you involved in any of their lives? No. Should you be caring what your neighbor does as long as it doesn't affect your property? Again, no, Karen. Sit down.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
think
like that some of the commenters pointed out, don't intervene. For all you know, they have an open marriage / arrangement.
Well, yeah, Shannon says if you're in your own house and they have their window blinds open, that's being nosy.
Yeah.
You're not a peeping Tom. You're just being nosy.
Uh-huh.
But yes.
Yes. So.
Yeah, I don't see the point in this one in terms of, like, why you would tell her.
Right.
Like, I don't even care that she's sick. I think that's probably important, but at the same time, I really don't care. Like, whether she's sick or not, just, like, no.
Right.
Leave it alone.
Right.
Like, quit being Mrs. Kravitz.
Yes.
Like, don't do that.
Yeah. None of your business.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you want to see if you can date him, which sounds like you don't.
Do you want to date her? Either her?
Yeah.
Like, let's be open-minded.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, like, no.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now, Shannon also points out, now, if you're pressing your face up against their windows to look through their blinds that they have down, then you catch charges.
Right.
So Brenda says neighborhood entertainment. We've all sat outside watching the cheating neighbor, husband, and his father. We even applauded when she got out of the car fixing her clothes. Brenda, put your bra on.
Oh, for those that do not know, Brenda was one of our Patreons, and there was a TikTok that popped up, and I sent it to her, and it literally, every time that I'm in a little bit of an agitated mood, I play that now in my office. I will see if I can get the link and actually post it out on the coffee shop Facebook page. Let them know, just to show it off, because I found it funny, especially when, a lot of times I turn to Brenda when I find others funny stuff and send it to her. Because Brenda and me have the same sense of humor
Mm-hmm.
on a lot of things.
This is true. Wow, voting is coming in way faster now.
Yep.
Sorry, we just jumped from 19 to 31 counties reporting.
All right.
Brenda says, glad I can entertain you.
You do. You make me happy, especially some of the videos you send me, and you get me into shoe shopping, and
Oh yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think Brenda won the $2 billion.
I know. That's okay. Someone in California did. I'm not really happy with that. Oh,
Such is life.
Such is life. The Associated Press is saying that 74% reporting in.
Now they're estimating 74% because I've seen that, and what it technically says is AP estimates 74% of votes are counting.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very confusing.
Mm-hmm.
But no, those the numbers do not track.
Okay.
I'm going with the West Virginia whatever this is. But yeah, I'm going with that one because it seems like it's a little more legit. So let's see. Has Fayette County? We're still partially reported for Fayette.
Okay.
But looking at Fayette County, we're at 63% for Carol Miller, 32% for Lacey Watson. Pretty overwhelmingly against the amendments. Yeah. For the levy, both levies, because there's Board of Education school levies, and then there's a Montgomery City levy.
We didn't get to vote on that one.
Yeah, that wasn't for us specifically. That's a little out of our zoning.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, no, the amendments at least look like in our area we're against those. Now, when we go back out to the state and how the state is reporting, then let's see. Carol Miller is just continuing to as is Alexander Mooney. So yeah.
Okay, we're on the West Virginia results of the state now. Mm-hmm. Well, Bigot Burger, I don't know. It's close. He's at 58, and Wendell is at 41. Getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're getting there. So yeah, it's going to be a slow. Well, maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Wait, how does that make any sense? 64%, 35%, and it's 100,100 votes versus 56,000 votes.
Mm-hmm.
Is there only 64-35 split? Because that doesn't seem right. Because I'm sorry, like 50,000 is half of 100,000.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are they showing that race so off? Like, now, the Carol Miller, Lacey Watson, that's accurate. That's 94,000 votes to 36,000 votes.
Mm-hmm.
I can track that one.
Right.
But, no, I guess that's right. 2/3 to 1/3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. Math apparently isn't working for me tonight.
Yeah, it's okay. It's been a long day. It's going to be a longer night as we wait to see, and midterms are normally not the big deal, but yes, they are. This is where
yeah. I mean, they're not a big deal. Sometimes they're not a big deal to most people. Right. A lot of people won't turn out to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Typically that's why the results come in so much faster.
Right.
But yeah, generally speaking, they are kind of a big deal, almost precisely because no one thinks they are. Because you can get some swing votes in there. Like, things can radically shift in a state, or in the federal government.
Right.
Depending upon who turned out to vote.
Right.
So yeah.
So we don't know in the morning that things where we stand, if we can get everything together.
Oh, yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I don't buy a ticket, but when I heard what happened, I was like, MHM? I need more details.
I'm not sure. MHM? I'm looking up the Sorry, it took me a second. Took me a minute. So apparently
Okay. Oh, very cool. It's been a great show. I hope you guys enjoyed our author.
Oh, talking about the lottery. They couldn't do the drawing because California had some issues, and they do the drawing the next day. Yeah.
And won.
Yeah. But no, at least they held off on the drawing.
Yep.
Like, cause that would get a little weird.
Yep.
Alrighty. Oh. Yeah, someone in California won. Meh.
That's to be expected, but we will see. We're still not done yet.
Absolutely.
Elections are lottery. That's why we don't place them. But all right, guys. I hope you had a great night. We will be back on Thursday night with coffee and tea. Lady Gwendolyn, I believe, is on tomorrow night with cauldron readings. And, of course, Mountain Bears will be digging into these election results and what we may be facing. Because this was an election of voting for your rights.
Absolutely. And then, are we actually off air Saturday?
Yes, at the moment.
Yeah, and then Sunday we're back for Psychic That Plans.
Yes.
Awesome.
So with that, guys, you have a magical night. I'll be up late, taking y'all calls. Let's talk about our baristas a moment.
All right. So, of course, we want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda Bryant, Shannon C, Shannon D, Lady Gwendolyn, Charles Shaw, Dottie the Psychic, Tracy Van, Donna White, Caitlin Bell, and the Laughing Tree Grove. If you'd like to learn more about us, the show, or how you too can become one of our Patreon sponsors and receive all the wonderful benefits our baristas receive, please visit us at pcspnetwork.com.
All right, guys. Good night.
Good night.
The deck is stacked. You can whisper behind my back. You can show me how the odds are up against me all day long. But I've been through the fire and come out alive, and there's no more fear in my eyes. Oh, now I'm rising, and you can't bring me down. You can't stop me now. Where I'm going at, ain't turning back around.